something that no family ever would want to have to deal with.
Yeah, two sides bickering over money while trying to bury their loved ones. But that's exactly what played out at a Blunteville cemetery earlier this year.
Now, East Tennessee Cemetery would not honor pre-need contracts after foreclosure and a change in ownership, forcing some to bury their loved ones at other cemeteries, some to pay twice for burials, and others to wait for the grave markers their loved ones previously bought.
Instead of grieving, it seems like you spend more time mad about this situation than actually being sad over her death.
Our community watchdog investigation prompted action after Nate Morabito started asking questions. The new owners promised to take responsibility for the former manager's mismanagement here. Nate found out they continue to live up to their end of the bargain.
You may remember they gave refunds to the customers who were double billed back in June, but that didn't help the dozens of families waiting on grave markers, vases, and plaques. Back then they told us those items should start coming in September. Families are now finally getting what their loved ones paid for. It's never easy visiting his grandmother's grave, but today, for the first time since June Morrell's death back in November,
It's a huge relief.
Jed Connerly doesn't feel quite as empty.
To finally see it, it really means a lot.
He's talking about his grandmother's grave marker. In the days after Morrell's death, her family paid almost $2,000 for it. But through winter, spring, and summer, her grave sat unmarked.
It was kind of hard to see with nothing here, and I know she wouldn't like that.
And her grave wasn't the only one. Dozens of other contracts went unfulfilled too. And for a short time, neither the former manager nor new owners would take responsibility.
Things happen for a reason, and that's okay. It was a little speed bump that we had to overcome.
It took some arm twisting by us and the state, but eventually the new owners came around, committing to make things right for all of the families who bought pre-need contracts under the previous owner.
We did take on the responsibility of the cemetery, which included some debt. And in turn, we have fulfilled and are fulfilling those promises.
East Tennessee Cemetery estimates the previous owner failed to fulfill contracts for 160 grave markers, vases, scrolls, plaques, and dates of death. He says the cemetery has already installed roughly 40 of those and hopes the rest will be in place by the end of the year.
If we give you our word, then we will fulfill it.
June Morrell's case is proof.
Even though it took 11 months, I know she would be thrilled with it.
Back in March, Connerly had his doubts this day would come. But for the last several months, he says the cemeteries remain committed.
This is something I know she would have wanted just as soon as she was buried. This would have meant a lot to her.
So today begins a new season. It's long overdue, but that doesn't seem to matter anymore.
Having this here, we finally have closure.
So if you think June Morrell's family had to wait a long time, listen to this. The cemetery says one family had to wait 21 years to simply get the date of death on their loved one's marker. The new owners say they have since fulfilled that contract as well as other contracts that date back 3, 4, and 5 years, contracts sold by the previous owner. Josh, it's worth mentioning here as well, the state says it does not have any unresolved complaints against this cemetery that was previously an issue. The cemetery remains in good standing and can continue to sell new contracts.
All right, Nate Morabito. Nate, thank you very much. Sarah?